Hey guys, this is Terry Divine, also known as Diana the Metaphysical Midwife, where I help you birth the life purpose in your true story by unlocking the mystery of you. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys briefly about altars and what is an altar, how you can set up an altar, and what is the purpose and items that you can place on your own altar if you decide you want to do one. So to begin with, I want you guys to understand that I deal with etymology, right? Etymology and phonetics of words. So before you start anything, I want you guys to really understand when it comes to spiritual practice, based on which system that you're using, there's different rules or different, I don't like to use rules, but there's it's a system. There's different structures or steps and tools that you utilize pertaining on your system. I myself, when it comes to my altar, I practice two different systems. One system I'm going to share with you guys today is more so the Hoodoo tradition system, but then there's also some other things I can share with you to give you guys insight on other things you can do depending on what type of energy that you're trying to invoke or change, because the word altar, A-L-T-E-R, means to change something. So your altar, A-L-T-A-R, is about invoking some change. It's about initiating a new change to something. So I want you guys to understand that I won't say you don't need an altar, but you have to realize that you yourself are your altar and you yourself are your ancestors. That's why they say your temple. We have two temples, and what dwells in the temple? You are the temple of God, so you are the altar. Your mind, your pineal gland is what changes things, because we know with the universal law, the first law is everything is mental. So it must start in the mind before it manifests in the physical, okay? So now that we understand the basis of what an altar is, I'm now going to give you guys the physical manifestations that you can use to tap into your subconscious mind to help you alter the reality that you're currently living. That's all that you're really doing. You're altering your reality by tapping into your spiritual mental nature of self. So the first thing you want to do is you want to set a space where you want to have this consecrated and place the space that's designated for this. So let's say you want to do an ancestor altar. Well, why would you want to have an ancestor altar? In the Hoodoo tradition, ancestors are those in our family members or in our soul groups that have once been in a human physical form who has then transitioned out of this life into what we call the spiritual life. I don't know if you guys are seeing this, or maybe it's just me seeing this. Something's kind of like floating. Spirits are always around me. Hallelujah. But yeah, so this is what you're doing. You're tapping into the ancestors, the spirits or the oversouls of those who once dwelled as a human being in this earth existence, and they have since transitioned on. So one thing I would say, traditionally in Hoodoo, now I'm gonna say this, traditionally in Hoodoo, and I practice a Creole-based Hoodoo, a Creole Gullah-based Hoodoo. So Creole kind of deals with that aspect, okay, just to give you guys where I'm coming from. So I'm going to share you guys my background of what I practice when it comes to this ancestral altar. It's particularly on the floor. Now, if you have a space on the floor, and if you guys don't have a space on your floor, you can definitely use a table. That is fine too. Now, depending on which ancestor or family member that you want to dedicate this table to or this space to will depend on what items you need to put on it. One thing I always say to do is to use a white tablecloth or some kind of white sheet. Now, why white? White, if you guys in the African traditional sense, white represents Abatala, right? Who is the head deity or head soul God energy of the Ifa particular religion belief system, okay? Now Hoodoo kind of does use the or you can even say the Orishas. So Hoodoo does kind of use the Orishas as well. And then also too, white is also representation. If you guys are not using that tradition, just know white represents the dead, okay? That's why Casper the ghost is white, sperm cells are white, sperm cells is spirit, okay? So white is the color to represent the dead. And so you're now communing or evoking with the dead, okay? So I would say use a white sheet or tablecloth. And let whatever you put on your altar, let it be specifically for your altar. Don't use it for multiple purposes. Let that be specifically for that, okay? Another thing I'll say that you actually will want to consecrate and clear your space. I prefer to use sage. So I have sage. Now, not everybody likes the smell of sage, and this is California white sage. As you can see, I already burned it before. Some people don't like the smell of sage, so you can also use Palo Santo, which is more of a, it has a sweet smell to it. But I love sage, so I use sage. But you can use Palo Santo. I would say you want to consecrate and clear that space. This is used as a way to help remove any negative energies, any low vibrational energies. Just kind of help you center yourself and get yourself mentally and emotionally prepared for what you're getting ready for. So you want to make this a ceremonial thing when you're creating this altar for yourself. You want to make it ceremonial. Also, I recommend Florida water. So once you clean the space, you go ahead and sage your Palo Santo, smudge the space, and I'll do a video on smudging as well. And then I like to say Florida water as another added enhancement just of cleaning out the space. So while you're cleaning it, you can use Florida water and then you can smudge. Then go ahead and put your white tablecloth down. You can also put pictures of loved ones there, those who are particularly closer to you. I use my great-grandmother. I have a picture of her on my altar. So she's one person that I commune with. Also too, you can also, any other family members, if you don't have pictures of them, I always recommend calling on ancestors of your highest and greatest good. I say that because we know not every ancestor, every person in our family, we know every person in our family isn't completely right. So you wouldn't be calling on Uncle Pookie and them, Uncle Pookie and them is a drunk, unless that's the kind of energy you want to invoke in your life, and that's cool too. But I just want to say that you want to call on your ancestors of your highest and greatest good. So you can use those words. I call on my ancestors of my highest and greatest good, and let that be a space for them. Now, particularly since I use my great-grandmother, you can also, which would be very beneficial, is preparing a dish for them and have a small plate that's specifically for your ancestors of whatever foods they may have liked, or if they liked a particular drink, if they liked a particular cigarette, whatever it is that they liked while they were here on earth, a perfume, a cologne, something that represents their energy, white gloves, white diamond perfume, whatever it is for them. Use that for them as a way, because what it is, it's not the item itself, it's the energy signature that the item represents with that particular family member or ancestor will resonate with. And because they resonate with that energy signature, they will know that they're being called and drawn into that area. And this is where we talk about ancestor veneration, helping venerate our ancestors, because there are some things that our ancestors were not able to complete while they were here on earth due to many different reasons. And as you are your ancestors, their blood and their DNA runs through you, you are able to complete it. So let's say you had an ancestor who didn't really accomplish that business they wanted to accomplish, right? So as you being your ancestors, the physical manifestation in this form as your ancestors, you can complete a business. And so therefore you can call on their energy and their knowledge and their wealth or whatever information that they can pass on to you for healing. And as you heal yourself, you heal them. Another thing I would say you'd like to add on your which would be important, is a cup of water. Now, water is a gateway. Water is a portal. I believe that water was the first element before there were any other elements. Everything starts with water, the womb, everything. So I say let this be a particular chalice or glass. You can either use copper, depending on what resonates with you and your family or your ancestors. I say glass of water. You can use as many as you want. There's no limit to how many glasses of water you want. And the purpose of glass of water, and I could talk about how to read the signs that you'll see. This is another way to help you communicate. So there'll be different effects that will happen on the glass to let you know if your answers or your prayers are being heard or answered, or if there's some other messages that you may need to be, you'll see it in the water. And I'll do a separate video talking about that. Another thing you guys would like to add is candles. Candles represents that spark, that energy, that flame. I like to use these small candles here. I'm gonna see if you guys can take this out so you guys can see it. I have a bunch of these. I get all my stuff pretty much from the dollar store. So don't sleep on the dollar store, guys. You can find a really lot of great things at the dollar store. I found this, I got my glass from the dollar store. These little candles at the dollar store, they were $1. You can even get the 7-day candles. I particularly work with white candles, and I say white candles because white can represent inner energy that you needed to do. So I say white, but also if you're working on chakras, healing certain chakras within your ancestral lineage, green deals with the heart, deals with the wealth, deals with money. Well, we'll say money, yeah, money, you know, that kind of aspect, creativity, healing is another great thing. Or you could just do a white candle and allow that white candle, you just infuse your own energy into that candle, saying, I set this my intention for this candle is to release any, I say emotional releases, you know, those who are holding grudges or those who forgiveness. I mean, green is a great candle for that too. So, but you can use white candles. I say white candles are just a universal color, and you invoke whatever you want this candle to represent and what healing or work that you're doing. Okay. You can also use herbs, because again, I work with Hoodoo. Now, particularly in Hoodoo, you grow your own herbs, or if you do go to somebody who grows herbs, kind of get to know that person to see what energy are they using when they're growing their own herbs. So I'm not saying you don't really, I believe, and what I've been taught, you're practicing Hoodoo if you grow your own herbs. And I could talk about herbs in another video, what herbs I use when I want to put on my candles or make my own oils. I'll talk about that in another video. Now, if you want to use an oil, olive oil is a really good oil. I do have a specific holy oil that I make. And then I do know some really good places that sell some good oils. I'll put some links for you guys in the description if I remember. And that. So that is pretty much it. Well, you can also put crystals there if you want to. I particularly use a Selenite Wand. And now I don't really use this Selenite Wand, this one in particular, on my Ancestor Altar. I have another one, and this is for a different altar that I have. But I do use a Selenite Wand. The Selenite is another conductor of energy as far as clear communication, right? Let's see. Other items that I do have, because I was working on root chakra work on my ancestor table. I have a Tibetan Bell, and I actually have a little gong that goes with it. But this right here, it resonates at a certain frequency as well. It deals with root chakra healing. So that was some things I was working on my altar. I pull oracle cards sometimes on my altar, particularly not tarot. Only because that is something I will use tarot for a different altar, but that's where I will sit and communicate with my ancestors and my spirit guides or my angels, and just to see what is it that they need from me. You can burn ancestor money at your altar. You can buy it on Amazon. I'll send a link for that. Or I create my own ancestor money because I feel like my energy is now infused in it. But either one, I'll talk about ancestor money in another video. But let's see, that is pretty much all that I put on my ancestor altar. I'll do another video talking about other altars that you can create and make that are not so much specific to Hoodoo, and what you guys can use that one for. But all right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys are interested in any more information about building an altar, practical spirituality, unlocking the mystery of you, on unlocking your life purpose for your career, your love life, your spiritual walk, please find me as Tahiri Divine, also known as Diana, the Metaphysical Midwife. I look forward to serving you guys. Thank you, and talk to you soon.